Welcome inside our San Francisco studios for Pac-12 Playbook. Mike Yam, Don McClain, and Ernie Kent with
Pac-12
you.
Playbook.
The old
Playbook.
flashback. Yes, yes. Ernie Kent back on set with us. Yes, we used to work on Playbook together. It is great to have you on set. It's like old times.
I'm telling you, we just need the M&Ms.
The same.
Tell people how much he ate all the time.
The M&Ms?
Yeah.
We don't even have them anymore.
But Don only wanted the blue ones. You wouldn't eat any of the other M&Ms that are out there. It's great. In all seriousness, you look great, man.
Well, thank you. I feel great.
What
do you feel great about your team?
I feel that's why I look great, because I feel great about my team. You know, when you have bad teams, you tend to eat more.
Really?
You're late night looking at film sessions, eating a lot of pizza.
Yeah. All right.
Good teams, you can stay in shape. Let them do all the running.
So Ernie, let's start. We could talk players in just a second here, but you made some changes to your staff. Take me through, because I know that's not easy for any head coach to have to make some moves and try to mix things up a little bit. You decided to pull the trigger on that. Why?
Well, especially when they're 20-year-old friends that you have to deal with, that I just felt like they did an outstanding job, Coach Dominguez, Coach Graham, of moving the needle with our program, and just felt like I needed some new energy to open up the recruiting in Seattle. In came Ed Haskins, one of the best high school basketball coaches in the state of Washington, and then Benny Seltzer, who played at Washington State. I think he's second on the all-time three-point shooting list. He comes in after having experience at Oklahoma as an assistant, Indiana as an assistant, recruited Victor Olatopo, brings an enormous amount of energy to the program, and also was a head coach. So it was necessary needs for me in terms of taking this program to another level.
I saw you this morning at the coffee place, and you sounded excited about your team because when you've been successful as a coach, your teams get up and down and they make shots. And it seems like you now have a roster where you'll be able to do that this year.
No question. I felt like last year we had a team that if I had taken those red shirts off the bench, we would have had an opportunity to play somewhere in postseason. But fortunately for us, we get all those guys back. And now, for the first time, every player in the program, we've recruited to Washington State. So that means skill, the ability to shoot the ball, spread the floor, get up and down. We have depth. We're not as big as we were last year with big Josh Hawkinson and Connor Clifford, but we can score the ball better and we can play at a much faster pace, which is where we want the program right now.
All right, you mentioned Clifford, Hawkinson, familiar names for us. Yeah. Ike, we've seen him with the ball. Callison, another guy. King, we can throw his name out into the mix as well.
Yes.
Those are the names that we're familiar with. You're telling me about personnel, and obviously Malachi is going to be on the set with us. We know about Franks as well. We saw him flashes down the stretch in league play. Who are some of those other players then that excite you about the upcoming year?
Well, Viontae Daniels, I thought, has had an excellent offseason. Former state player of the year, just like Malachi Flynn, is going to bring a great scoring ability to the floor for us. And along with that, Milan Aqua, you're going to see a point guard that with him and Malachi on the floor, both being able to play the point, both being able to play the off guard, they give us a dynamic duel that I think is going to be very tough to deal with. Arinze Cheatham, another 6'7" player out of the Bay Area, shoots the ball extremely well. He can put it on the floor, long, athletic type of basketball player. And then there's two JC players in this program. Quentin Henson gives us that 6'5" big wing that we've never had, that's athletic, skilled, and can score. And then Carter Skaggs, another 6'5" wing that's a pure shooter. So you'll hear me talk about skill quite a bit and shooting quite a bit. That's where we've put it on this team, added in terms of numbers, added in terms of depth, obviously. But we're a lot more skilled and we can shoot the ball.
How do you make up for the lack of size with scheme? I mean, you're going to run into some big teams, especially in the Pac-12. How do you deal with that?
We're going to press. We're going to press and we're going to run. I think, again, with our numbers, it gives us a chance to do some things differently defensively. It was very difficult for us to handle ball screens last year. Josh Hawkinson, Connor Clifford, we got kind of stuck in how to play those things. Well, now we've got a team where we can trap ball screens, we can switch ball screens, and more importantly, we can press a lot more. We needed those guys on the floor last year to help us score with that size inside. This team will be more of a perimeter-dominated team. Speed, no question.
Does it remind you of any of the teams that you've had in the past when you were at Oregon?
I continue to tell this group, and I'm waiting to show them that film from Oregon, because they are almost identical to the Aaron Brooks group. Only difference is I've got now Luke Ridnour and Malachi Flynn. Plays extremely well. Aaron Brooks just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Hey, that's good timing. Somebody in the studio, buy them lunch. That was pretty good. But Aaron Brooks, Hall of Fame, $18 million later. I think I would smile like that too, huh?
Adam Stanko.
There you go.
Stanko's producing this show.
Adam, good job, buddy. But Malachi is your prototype point guard that really understands the game. Milan Aqua understands the game. Again, when you talk about speed, this teams are very similar to my teams at Oregon, where where we could spread the floor, share the ball, and get up and down.
I don't know if pressure is the right word, but in terms of getting guys quickly to play right now, did you feel like there was some pressure to have to go to the JUCO ranks to get some guys?
Not necessarily pressure, but just felt like we needed to reload and get more size on the perimeter and get guys that could put the ball in the hole, which forced us to the junior college ranks. Typically, those players can come in and play right away and have a lot more confidence in terms of their ability to get the job done, and we certainly feel like we've been able to do that.
You know, it's interesting, Ernie. It's a lot of teams in this league this year. I feel like in talking to the coaches and just looking at their roster and what they've done in the offseason, a lot of teams are kind of rebooting this year. You reboot with a new coaching staff. You have a ton of new players, and it just seems like that's a thing this year in our league.
Well, the reason for that, again, is when you talk about this conference, 27% of this conference went to the NBA draft. They were 27% of it was all drafted in the NBA. That's a lot of players and a lot of skill, a lot of talent. So it's an opportunity, I think, to reboot, reshift, move up the ladder with your programs, particularly if you can get teams that play with confidence. They have their togetherness. They have the ability, I think, to win on the road, protect their home court, and more importantly, put points on the board. This conference, you have got to score in this conference.
Right.
Ernie, 6 years ago we launched Pac-12 Network. You were with us. The three of us used to do a basketball show a couple days
I
ago.
sat in that
all day on Monday.
How come I'm in this scene? I was in that scene.
You know what? That's what happens when you go to Pullman.
That's what happens, man. You big league us and go coach.
Exactly. But the point that I want to bring is, and I've said this to you a lot, that you were a big part of the culture forming that took place when we first launched Pac-12 Network. And obviously we missed you here. There's been some struggles that you've had at Washington State. You are also one of the most positive people that I've ever been around. How do you manage that with 17, 18, 19-year-olds that aren't necessarily used to losing, and all of a sudden, you know, they're not getting all those W's that they had maybe at a previous level or at a previous stop? Like, what's the message to those guys?
I think for me personally, it's realizing that you built St. Mary's College, and it took you 4 or 5 years to get it there. And when you left out the door, you had high graduation rates. You had success with an NCAA tournament team. They were a championship program. Randy Bennett's done an outstanding job, and they're still a championship program today. Oregon was not a great program when we walked in the door. Had a lot of problems going on. We built it from the inside out. High graduation rates, NBA-style players. Championship program. Dana's taken it to another level, but they're still a championship program today. But these guys got to understand, number one, you know what you're doing. Number two, they have the prototype players in this program right now to be every bit as successful as those teams. I have to remind them that Oregon team was picked 6th or 7th in the conference that went to an Elite Eight. So disregard what the media thinks of you and really stay focused on the big picture. So how do I keep them focused? I keep them focused by helping them understand how good they are and the potential they have within them. Our job is to now go out and show it.
All coaches tell them to disregard whatever I say.
Yeah, I don't listen to Don anyhow. You never listen to Don, did you?
No, I didn't listen to you either. So.
Well, I know that. Obviously, you haven't sitting on that phone book yet.
Ernie, I would say I missed you, but after that last
that was
comment,
like riding a
that's
bike,
the case. So back to the good old days.
Yeah.
Ernie, best of luck to you this upcoming season. We do miss you here, man.
You know, in my culture, we eat a lot of yams. I miss my yammer.
Oh, back in my good graces. All right, more to come here. Ernie actually talked up Malachi Flynn, who had quite the offseason. His big man, Robert Franks, both those guys stopped by our set. The Cougs convo continues.
Seattle. Malachi Flynn puts the Cougars ahead. Flynn drives. Malachi Flynn! And the Cougs are up 4 with 13.9 remaining.
Just had Ernie Kent on the set. We were talking about the Washington State Cougars, and that Cougs conversation continues here on Media Day. Mike Ham, Don McClain, Malachi Flynn, Robert Franks also with us. But you look different to me for some reason. Have you dropped couple LBs here?
Yeah, dropped about 20, 25 pounds in the off season.
What did you do to do that?
Just went back home. Me and my trainer, Paul Cannon, worked out about 2 to 3 times a day. Very tough.
To get more, to be able to play more minutes, to get faster, to get quicker. What was the thought behind it? All that?
Yeah, I just knew, Josh Hawkins is gone. I got to take his spot. So, the minutes come into play, and I had to, change every aspect of my game and upgrade it.
Malachi, for you, heading into the season, I don't know how many people had you necessarily on their radar. Everyone was talking about all these other incoming freshmen, and then here you are kind of just becoming a standout in this league. Play with a chip on your shoulder. Like, were you aware that maybe you weren't getting enough attention and credit for what your game actually is?
Yeah, I think that's been the story of my life pretty much, just growing up. I've always been underlooked, so I think I've had that chip on my shoulder ever since I was young.
Why is that?
I couldn't tell you.
Ernie was just on here, and he's talking about you guys playing differently this year. You had Josh Hawkinson and Connor Clifford, so maybe more of a half-court game. You're not as big this year, so it sounds like you're going to get up and down. You lose the weight to maybe help that. Talk about what you guys have been working on here in the preseason to play differently.
Yeah, like you said, Connor Clifford, they were so good that we hadn't given them the ball. So now that they're gone, we're running up a lot, trying to get defensive stops and get out and run, shoot. If you got a good shot within 5 seconds, shoot it. That's our philosophy. So just trying to get up and down.
Robo, they like to call you.
Robo.
Are you having? Is it a different type of fun? Not to say that basketball is not, but just knowing the style of play that Malachi is referencing. Is it feel different in practice?
Oh yeah, it feels very different. Having a point guard like Malachi and also like Milan. When you get out and run, and they're penetrating, and you're on that wing and you're wide open, it just feels different. And you have a better confidence in your game because it comes in rhythm and with confidence.
Have you spent more time on conditioning? Players always say, we want to run, but it's harder to run. It's not easy to run. You have to be in better condition so that you can sustain it. Has that part been different here early?
Yeah, it's been a little bit different. Kent's changed up the practice. We have a shorter shot clock when we scrimmage just to make us, get up and down in that up-tempo flow.
I know getting up and down the floor, staying healthy, a couple of those key ingredients, and if you guys have success.
You guys got any ping pong games?
Yeah.
I don't, but he's way worse than me.
Oh, really?
I was beating him.
We're trying to set up matches. It sounds like UCLA-Washington's going to be the featured match.
Yeah, so far that might actually be what it is. But guys, stay healthy this upcoming season.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
There's one team that health is going to be a major issue. One guy that knows all about that is Wayne Tinkle. 90% of the scoring and rebounding is back. The Beavs count